Every Sunday, my wife vanished for her so-called me time. She said she needed space, yoga, journaling, maybe a coffee with her friends. I trusted her. Until one day, I decided to surprise her. And what I found completely destroyed the life I thought we had. This is the story of how I uncovered my wife's double life, and the unexpected revenge that followed. My name's Ryan, and I'm 34 years old. I've been married to my wife, Melissa, for 6 years. From the outside, we looked like the perfect couple, the kind you'd see in lifestyle magazines or envious Instagram posts. We had a beautiful home in the suburbs, stable careers, and what I believed was an unshakable foundation of love and trust. Melissa was the kind of woman who always talked about self-care, balance, and independence. She'd read books about mindfulness, quote Brené Brown at dinner parties, and championed the idea that every person needed their own space to thrive. I admired that about her. In fact, I loved it. She wasn't clingy or dependent. She was her own person, and I respected her autonomy completely. Every Sunday morning, like clockwork, she'd emerge from our bedroom dressed in her yoga pants and a tank top, hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She'd sip her green smoothie, kiss me on the cheek, and say those familiar words. "Babe, I just need a few hours to recharge. You understand, right?" And I did understand. Or at least, I thought I did. I'd smile, kiss her goodbye, and watch her drive away in her silver Honda CR-V. Then I'd spend my Sunday doing the mundane things that keep a household running. Mowing the lawn, fixing that leaky faucet I'd been putting off, or meal prepping for the week ahead. Sometimes I'd grab a beer and watch football. Other times, I'd surprise her by preparing an elaborate dinner for when she returned. She'd come home around 6 or 7 in the evening, her face glowing with that post-workout radiance, smelling faintly of lavender and something citrusy. "Yoga was amazing today," she'd say, stretching her arms above her head. Or, "I totally lost track of time journaling at that new cafe downtown. You'd love their oat milk lattes." I never questioned it. Why would I? We had built our marriage on trust. We communicated. We supported each other's needs for independence. We were doing everything the relationship experts said you should do. But now, looking back, I realize I was living in a carefully constructed illusion, a beautiful lie that she had perfected over months, maybe even years. It started small. Little inconsistencies that my brain tried to rationalize away because the alternative was too painful to consider. About 4 months before everything fell apart, I noticed that Melissa's yoga mat, the expensive purple one she'd insisted on buying from Lululemon, looked pristine. Not just clean, but unused. Nowhere on the edges, no slight discoloration from sweat and use. For someone who supposedly attended yoga classes every single Sunday for months, that seemed odd. Then there was her gym bag. One evening, I picked it up to move it from the hallway to her closet, and something struck me. It didn't smell like a gym bag. You know that distinct scent of athletic gear? That mix of deodorant, sweat, and synthetic fabric? It wasn't there. Instead, it smelled fresh, like laundry detergent and nothing else. I pushed the thought away. Maybe she was just really good about washing her workout clothes immediately. Maybe the yoga studio was air-conditioned, and she didn't sweat much. Maybe I was being paranoid for no reason. But then came the wardrobe changes. Melissa started dressing up for her Sunday outings. Full makeup, the kind she usually reserved for date nights or work presentations. Expensive perfume. She'd spend 45 minutes in front of the mirror, trying on different outfits before settling on yoga pants that looked more like designer leisure wear than actual workout clothes. "You're getting all dolled up for yoga?" I asked one Sunday morning, trying to keep my tone light and joking. She laughed, but something about it sounded forced. "I just want to feel good about myself, you know? Self-care is about looking good and feeling good. Plus, some of the girls at the studio are really into fashion. I don't want to be the slob in old sweats." It made sense. Sort of. But something in my gut twisted uncomfortably. There were other signs, too. She'd become protective of her phone, always keeping it face down, always carrying it from room to room, even taking it to the bathroom. When I'd walk into the room while she was texting, she'd quickly close whatever she was looking at and smile up at me innocently. "Who was that?" I'd ask casually. "Oh, just Mia from yoga class. She's hilarious." Mia. That name would haunt me soon enough. Our sex life had changed, too. Not dramatically, we still had our moments, but there was a distance that hadn't been there before. She seemed distracted, like her mind was somewhere else even when her body was with me. Sometimes, in those quiet moments after, I'd catch her staring at the ceiling with a small smile on her face, and I'd wonder what she was thinking about. I told myself I was overthinking everything. Marriage goes through phases, right? People get distracted. Work stress, life stress, the mundane routine of daily existence. It all adds up. We were fine. We had to be fine. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know how wrong until that fateful Sunday morning. It was a Sunday like any other, or so I thought. Melissa was rushing around the house, gathering her things for her weekly escape. But in her hurry, she made a mistake. A costly, relationship-ending mistake. She left her phone charging on the kitchen counter. Normally, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. Melissa was forgetful sometimes, and she'd realize within a few minutes and come back for it. I went about my morning routine, made myself coffee, scrolled through the news on my tablet, thought about whether I should finally tackle cleaning out the garage. Then her phone lit up. I wasn't trying to spy. The screen just came to life right there in my line of sight, impossible to ignore. A text message notification appeared at the top of the screen, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The contact name read, Mia Yoga. The message preview said, "See you at the cabin." Same time, followed by a red heart emoji. Time seemed to stop. The cabin? What cabin? We didn't own a cabin. None of our friends had a cabin that I knew of. And why would her yoga friend be texting about a cabin? Why the heart emoji? My hands were shaking as I picked up her phone. I knew her passcode. We'd always been open about that, another sign of our perfect trust. My fingers trembled as I typed it in, 0-8-1-5, her birthday. The phone unlocked. I opened her messages and found the thread with Mia, Yoga. But as I scrolled through the conversation, my confusion turned to horror, then to a sickening understanding. These weren't messages from a woman named Mia. The messages were from a man named Eric. She had just changed the contact name to hide who she was really talking to, probably in case I ever glanced at her phone. I scrolled up, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The conversation went back months. Months. There were inside jokes, flirty emojis, and references to their perfect Sundays together. There were photos, not explicit ones, but intimate enough. Pictures of them at a lake, sitting by a fire pit, his arm around her shoulders. Her smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. Then I found the message that shattered my world completely. Eric, I love our Sundays more than anything. Can't stop thinking about you during the week. Does he still have no clue? Melissa, not at all. Ryan's so trusting, he doesn't question anything. I almost feel bad, almost. Smirking face. Eric, you deserve to be happy. What we have is special. Melissa, I know. See you tomorrow. Can't wait. Red heart. I had to set the phone down because I thought I might throw up. My wife, the woman I'd pledged my life to, the woman I came home to every night, the woman I was planning to start a family with, had been living a double life. Every Sunday for months, while I'd been mowing the lawn and cooking dinner and trusting her completely, she'd been driving 2 hours to some secret cabin to be with another man. The woman I thought I knew didn't exist. She was a stranger who happened to sleep in my bed and wear my wedding ring. I didn't confront her when she came rushing back 10 minutes later, breathless and apologetic. Sorry, forgot my phone. I'm such a space case sometimes, she said with that beautiful smile that now looked like a mask. No problem, I managed to say, my voice somehow steady despite the chaos in my chest. Have a great time at yoga. She kissed me and left again. This time with her phone. This time with her secrets safely hidden once more. The moment her car pulled out of the driveway, I collapsed onto the couch, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to believe there was some explanation, some misunderstanding. Maybe Eric was a gay friend, and the messages were being misinterpreted. Maybe the cabin was code for something innocent, like a yoga retreat or a group gathering. But I knew better. Deep down, I knew exactly what was happening. I spent the next week in a fog, going through the motions of normal life while screaming internally. At work, I'd stare at my computer screen, unable to focus. At home, I'd make small talk with Melissa about her day, all while knowing she was counting down the hours until she could see him again. She had no idea that I knew. And I decided to keep it that way for now. Because if I was going to end this marriage, I needed proof. Real, undeniable, documented proof. Not just for the divorce proceedings, though that was important, but for myself. I needed to see it with my own eyes, to move beyond any shadow of doubt, to kill any remaining hope that this was all a terrible misunderstanding. So I made a plan. The following Sunday, I woke up early and prepared. I told Melissa the night before that I might go to the hardware store, and then maybe grab lunch with my buddy Jake. She seemed pleased that I'd have my own plans, probably relieved that I wouldn't be home when she returned, reducing the chance of her having to maintain the charade for too long. That Sunday morning, I watched her go through her usual routine. The makeup, the careful outfit selection, the way she checked herself in the mirror 3 times before heading out. She kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, how easily those words came to her now, I noticed, and left. I gave her a 10-minute head start, then got in my car and followed. Following someone without being noticed is harder than it looks in movies. I stayed several car lengths back, sometimes letting another vehicle get between us. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely focus on driving. Part of me still hoped she'd turn into a yoga studio, or a cafe, or anywhere that would prove my suspicions wrong. She didn't. Melissa drove out of our suburban neighborhood, merged onto the highway heading north, and kept going. 1 hour passed. Then another. We were deep in rural territory now, places I'd never been, where houses became sparse and trees dominated the landscape. Finally, she exited onto a smaller highway, then turned onto a county road, and eventually onto a dirt path that barely qualified as a road at all. I had to drop back farther now, terrified she'd spot me in her rearview mirror on these empty roads. She turned down what looked like a private driveway, barely marked except for a faded wooden sign that read Clearwater Cabins, private property. I parked my car a quarter-mile away, hidden behind a cluster of pine trees, and continued on foot. My hands were shaking as I turned on my phone's camera, making sure it was set to video. I needed evidence. I needed proof. Through the trees, I could see a small clearing near a pristine lake. There were 3 cabins, rustic but well-maintained. Melissa's car was parked in front of the middle one, and next to it was a dark blue Ford F-150. As I crept closer, staying hidden in the tree line, I saw the cabin door open. A man stepped out. Tall, athletic build, dark hair, probably around my age. He was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, looking like he'd stepped out of a catalog for rugged outdoor living. And then I saw my wife run to him. She didn't walk. She ran, like a teenager in a romantic movie, with pure joy on her face, an expression I hadn't seen directed at me in so long. He caught her in his arms, spun her around, and kissed her. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss. A kiss that said, "I've been counting the minutes until I could do this again." I filmed it all, my hands surprisingly steady now. The initial shock had given way to cold clarity. This was real. This was happening. My marriage was a lie. They went inside the cabin, arms around each other, laughing about something I couldn't hear. I stood there in the woods for another 20 minutes, just processing, just breathing, just trying to figure out who I was now that my entire reality had shifted. Then I walked back to my car and drove home, arriving hours before Melissa would return from her yoga class. I didn't sleep that night or the nights that followed. While Melissa snored peacefully beside me, how could she sleep so soundly with such massive lies hanging over her? I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, planning. My first instinct had been to confront her immediately, to explode in righteous anger, to throw her out that very night. But I'm an engineer by training, and engineers don't act on emotion alone. We calculate, we plan, we execute with precision. So I planned. First, I backed up all the evidence I'd gathered. The video from the cabin. Screenshots of every message between her and Eric. I created multiple copies, one on a flash drive, one in a secure cloud storage, one sent to my personal email account. Evidence secured. Next, I consulted with a divorce attorney. I found the best one in the city, paid for a full consultation, and laid out my situation. She was a sharp woman in her 50s named Patricia who'd seen it all and wouldn't be shocked by anything. "You have more than enough for an at-fault divorce based on adultery," Patricia told me, reviewing the evidence on her laptop. "This will work heavily in your favor for asset division." "Is the house in both names?" "No," I said. "I bought it 3 years before we got married. It's in my name only." "That's good for you." "Very good. What about joint accounts?" "We have a joint checking account for household expenses and a shared savings account. But my main accounts and investments are separate." Patricia nodded approvingly. "Smart man. Here's what I recommend." Over the next hour, she outlined a strategy. File for divorce, but wait until I'd secured all our joint assets. Empty the joint accounts and transfer my half to my private account. Legally, I was entitled to it. Change the locks on the house, since it was in my name. Gather any additional evidence of the affair if possible. "And here's the thing," Patricia said, leaning back in her leather chair. You could drag this out, make it ugly, try to punish her legally. But from what you've told me, you just want out. You want to move on. Am I right? I nodded. Then we do this cleanly, swiftly, and decisively. She'll likely be too shocked and guilty to fight much. We present the evidence, make it clear that any attempt to contest the divorce will result in this evidence being public record, and we settle. You keep the house, your assets, and you split the joint accounts. She walks away with her car, her personal belongings, and her shame. It sounded perfect. Over the next 3 weeks, I quietly executed the plan. I transferred money from our joint accounts to my private account. Exactly half, nothing more, staying legally clean. I contacted a locksmith and scheduled him to change the locks on a specific date. I organized all the financial documents Patricia would need. And I waited. I became an actor in my own life, playing the role of the trusting husband, while watching my wife play the role of the faithful spouse. It was surreal. We'd have dinner together, watch TV together, even make love occasionally, though I felt sick afterward, and all the while I was counting down to the day I'd detonate the bomb that would end our marriage. Melissa noticed nothing. Why would she? She'd gotten away with it for so long, she'd become complacent. Arrogant, even. I'd hear her on the phone sometimes, talking to Mia, her voice warm and excited. Once, she was texting in bed next to me, and she actually giggled at something he'd written. What's funny? I asked, my voice casual. She locked her phone quickly. Oh, just something silly Mia sent. You wouldn't get it. I wouldn't get it. She had no idea how much I got it now. Our anniversary was approaching. 6 years of marriage. I decided that would be the perfect day to end it all. There was something poetic about it, something fitting. The anniversary of the day we'd promised to love, honor, and cherish each other would be the day I revealed that she'd honored none of those vows. Melissa assumed we'd go out to dinner like we usually did, maybe to that Italian restaurant she loved downtown. She'd been dropping hints about it all week. But I had different plans. On the morning of our anniversary, I took the day off work. I deep-cleaned the house until it was spotless. I went to the grocery store and bought ingredients for her favorite meal, pan-seared salmon with asparagus and roasted potatoes, with a chocolate lava cake for dessert. I set the dining room table with our good china, the set we'd received as a wedding gift from her parents. I lit candles. I opened a bottle of her favorite wine, a Pinot Noir from a vineyard we'd visited on our honeymoon. Then I went to my home office and prepared the flash drive. I loaded it with everything. The video from the cabin, showing her running into Eric's arms and kissing him. Screenshots of their most damning text messages, including the ones where she laughed about how clueless I was. Photos of them together at the lake. Even receipts I'd found for the cabin rentals, charged to a credit card I didn't know she had. Everything. I put the flash drive in a small gift box, wrapped it in elegant paper, and tied it with a ribbon. When Melissa came home from work that evening, I heard her surprised gasp from the entryway. Ryan, what's all this? She appeared in the dining room, her eyes wide, taking in the candles, the set table, the wine. Happy anniversary, I said, smiling. You didn't think I'd forget, did you? Her face lit up with genuine joy, which made what was about to happen almost surreal. I thought we were going out. This is beautiful. You did all this. For you, I said, pulling out her chair. You mean everything to me. We had dinner. I made small talk, asked about her day, complimented her dress. She talked about a project at work, mentioned that Mia had recommended a new yoga studio that did hot yoga. She was relaxed, happy, completely unsuspecting. The whole time, I felt like I was watching the scene from outside my body. This woman, sitting across from me, eating the meal I'd cooked, was a stranger. An actress playing the role of my wife. After dinner, as we finished the wine, I reached under the table and pulled out the gift box. I have something for you, I said. Her eyes sparkled. Ryan, you shouldn't have. Oh, I think you'll find it's exactly what our relationship needs, I said, keeping my voice warm. She tore off the wrapping paper, opened the box, and pulled out the flash drive. She looked confused. What's this? Memories, I said. Our story. I thought we could watch it together. Still confused but intrigued, she walked to the TV in our living room. I followed, carrying my wine glass, feeling remarkably calm. She plugged the flash drive into the TV's USB port and selected the first file. The screen came alive with the video I'd shot from the woods. Melissa's car pulling up to the cabin. The man walking out. My wife running to him. The kiss. The embrace. The two of them disappearing into the cabin together. The color drained from Melissa's face. Her wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the hardwood floor, red wine spreading like blood across the wood. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I calmly picked up the remote and pressed play on the next file. Screenshots of their text messages appeared on the screen, one after another, each one more damning than the last. "Ryan, wait, I can explain." "Can you?" I asked, my voice still eerily calm. "Please, Melissa. Explain how you've been spending every Sunday for the past several months with your lover at a cabin 2 hours away. Explain how you saved his contact as Mia from yoga to hide the affair. Explain how you laughed about how stupid and trusting I was. Please. I'd love to hear the explanation." She started crying, big theatrical sobs. "It's not what it looks like." I actually laughed at that. A short, bitter sound. "Melissa, it's exactly what it looks like. I have video evidence. I have messages. I have photos. I have receipts for the cabin rentals. I have everything. It was a mistake," she cried, reaching for me. "Ryan, please, it was just a stupid mistake. It didn't mean anything. A mistake," I repeated, stepping away from her grasping hands. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. What you did, lying to me every single week for months, creating an elaborate double life, falling in love with another man while pretending to love me. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Multiple choices. Hundreds of choices, every single day." "I do love you," she insisted, her makeup now streaming down her face. "I love you, Ryan. He was just something different, something exciting. It didn't mean what we have means nothing." "Had," I corrected. "What we had. Past tense. Because we're done, Melissa. Completely done." Her crying intensified. She dropped to her knees on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and spilled wine. "No, no, no. Please, Ryan. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll end it with him right now, I promise. Please don't do this." I looked down at her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just a cold, empty clarity. "I've already filed for divorce," I told her. "The papers will be served tomorrow. I've changed the locks on the house. This is my house. In case you forgot, it was mine before we married. I've divided our joint accounts. Your clothes and personal belongings are packed in suitcases in the garage. You can stay at a hotel tonight, or with a friend, or with Eric. I honestly don't care. But you're not staying here. You can't do this," she screamed, anger replacing the tears now. "You can't just throw me out. Actually, I can. This house is in my name. And I have enough evidence of your infidelity to ensure you get nothing more than what I've already allocated to you. My lawyer has copies of everything you just saw on that screen. If you contest the divorce or try to make any claims on my assets, all of this becomes public record. Your family will see it. Your friends will see it. Your co-workers will see it. Is that what you want?" She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing, no words coming out. "That's what I thought," I said. "There's one more thing." I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot of an email I'd sent earlier that day. "Eric has a wife, Melissa. Did you know that? Sarah. They've been married for 8 years. They have 2 kids. I sent her this same flash drive this afternoon. So you might want to call your boyfriend and let him know that his marriage is probably ending too." Melissa's face went from pale to green. "You didn't." "I did. Why should I be the only one to know the truth? Sarah deserved to know what her husband was doing every Sunday, just like I deserved to know what my wife was doing." The weeks that followed were surprisingly uneventful. Melissa moved out that night, staying with her sister who, despite being furious at me initially, quickly changed her tune once she learned the truth. Our mutual friends split predictably along loyalty lines, but I didn't care. The ones who knew the truth understood. The ones who didn't weren't real friends anyway. The divorce proceeded smoothly. Patricia had been right, Melissa didn't fight. She signed everything quickly, probably motivated by a desire to make the whole thing go away as fast as possible. She kept her car, her personal savings, her 401k, and half of our joint accounts. I kept the house, my investments, and my self-respect. Eric's marriage ended too. Sarah filed for divorce within a week of receiving my email. Apparently, this hadn't been Eric's first affair. I'd just been the one to finally provide proof. She took him to the cleaners in their divorce, getting primary custody of their kids and a significant portion of his assets. Melissa and Eric did try to make a relationship work after both divorces were finalized. I heard through the grapevine that they lasted about 3 months. Turns out, A relationship built on lies and stolen Sunday afternoons doesn't translate well into real life. Who could have guessed? I ran into Melissa once, about 5 months after our divorce was finalized. We were at the same grocery store. She was in the produce section, looking tired and smaller somehow, like life had diminished her. Our eyes met. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but I just nodded politely and walked past her. There was nothing left to say. 8 months have passed now since that anniversary night. 8 months since my life imploded and rebuilt itself into something different. I won't lie and say it's been easy. There were dark nights where I questioned everything, my judgment, my worth, my ability to trust again. I went to therapy, which helped more than I expected. Dr. Morrison, my therapist, helped me understand that Melissa's betrayal was about her character, not my value. You can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, she told me once, and there's still going to be someone who doesn't like peaches. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with being a peach. I took up new hobbies. Started hiking every Sunday morning, my time now really mine. I joined a rock climbing gym and found a community of people who became genuine friends. I learned to cook more elaborate meals, not for anyone else, just for myself. I adopted a rescue dog, a lab mix named Cooper who greets me every evening like I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. I even started dating again, though I'm taking it slow. There's a woman named Amanda I've been seeing. We met at a friend's barbecue. She's a high school teacher, funny and kind, with no patience for games or dishonesty. We're taking things one day at a time, and that feels right. Sundays are my favorite day now. I wake up early, make myself a good breakfast, and head out with Cooper for a long hike in the mountains. I breathe the clean air, feel the sun on my face, and appreciate the simple fact that my life is my own again. No lies. No deception. No wondering where my partner really is or who they're really with. Just peace. I sometimes wonder if Melissa regrets what she did. If she lies awake at night thinking about how she destroyed a good thing for a fantasy that quickly fell apart. But mostly, I don't think about her at all anymore. That's the real victory, I think. Not the divorce settlement or the satisfaction of exposing the truth. The victory is in the fact that I've moved on. I've built a new life, one based on authenticity and self-respect. I'm happy. Actually happy, not performing happiness while anxiety gnaws at my insides. My parents, who were devastated when they learned about the divorce, recently told me they're proud of how I've handled everything. You could have become bitter, my dad said, but you chose to become better instead. I think that's the best summary of this whole nightmare turned blessing. Yes, I was betrayed. Yes, 6 years of my life were spent building a future with someone who was lying to me. Yes, I have trust issues now that I'm working through in therapy. But I also learned who I am when everything falls apart. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I learned that I deserve better than someone who can look me in the eye and lie. I learned that starting over, while terrifying, can also be liberating. Every Sunday now, I wake up in my house, with my dog, my peace of mind, and my freedom. I make my plans based on what I want to do, not what I'm tolerating or overlooking. And that, ultimately, is the best revenge of all. Not destruction, but reconstruction. Not bitterness, but growth. Not being consumed by what was, but excited about what could be. Melissa took 6 years of my life, but she gave me something valuable in return, even if she didn't mean to. The gift of clarity. The gift of knowing exactly what I won't tolerate. The gift of understanding my own worth. So yes, my wife's double life destroyed the life I thought I had. But it also freed me to build the life I actually deserve. And for that, in a strange way, I'm grateful. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.